One day, David's old man was in the kitchen making jam sandwiches when David walked in.
What are you doing, Dad? Making a jam sandwich.
Oh yeah, I'm making a jam sandwich. Here, take these to your brothers. They're at war.
David finally arrives at camp and sees his big brother.
What are you doing here, you little short round?
Oh, I got these jam sandwiches for you.
Oh, thanks.
So I saw a big giant. What is he all about?
He wants someone to fight him, but we're all too scared.
Okay, I'll fight him.
You just have to go tell King Saul then.
Okay. Well, where is he? Okay.
Finally, David arrives at King Saul's headquarters.
What are you doing here, little short round? Yeah, you.
I can fight Goliath.
You. Fighting Goliath.
Yep.
Well, do you need some armor then?
Nah, I'll fight an iron bear, so I think I'll be good.
David had a great selection of coarse limestone supplied from Dalton's to choose from.
Two more.
Goliath was a beast of a man. He just kept going up and up and up and up. Finally, they arrive at the battle scene.
Well, you're short.
Yeah.
What are you planning beating me with?
These bad boys from Dalton's.
Well, I'm beating you with my muscles.
What's that in your hand?
It's a bread knife. Just get it on then. Okay.
David winds up and he throws.
The Lord has won the battle. He has delivered victory.
Hey everyone, so we're here with Tim and Sarah. Some of you will know Tim and Sarah. They are our amazing youth pastors here at Soul, and they've had a fair bit to do over the last couple of weeks, keeping our youth community up and running and cranking, and with our online stuff, which has been really cool. So I know you've enjoyed parts of it, and you know it's been a challenge at others, but it's the final product has been awesome, and I know our kids have enjoyed it, so thanks heaps for the efforts there. It's been really cool. Hey, we're in our foundation series, and we thought we'd catch up with you guys just to sort of talk a little bit about that. We're going to go over it over the next couple of weeks, which is great. And I thought I'd start by asking, for you guys, you sort of came into Soul 3 years ago or something like that, I think, from memory. And so I guess you came along a little bit later on in the stages of the church, and so I just sort of asked you what it was like coming here, sort of how that worked and how you fitted in. And
yeah, for me personally, when I first came, it was a life-changing experience. We had a bit of a past and a history, and I guess church wasn't a place where I felt safe or that my foundation was necessarily acceptable. And coming in here and just being loved as we were and where we were, you and Stace just saw something in us that I don't even think we knew was there, and Jesus has just been huge in bringing that out more and more, and it's just been huge for us, and we've just felt everyone here, you're part of the family, and no matter where you're at in your journey, you're part of it, and that's just something that is quite rare these days, but just something that we wanted to jump on board and just be a part of.
awesome.
Yeah,
it's so cool, and it was like that for us. The first time you guys turned up, we knew that God had sent someone special to Soul, and we have a lot of amazing people at Soul, obviously, but sometimes God just sort of gives you a prompting as to you know, somebody who's turned up, you're just kind of like, oh well, he's got plans for them, and you guys for them, and it's been exciting watching that journey. And I know some of you will know and some won't, but Sarah's been working part time for the church since February, and Tim actually started full time on the 1st of April, and it's not a April Fool's joke. The joke was we're all in lockdown, and you couldn't actually go and do your job in an office or do, you know. So how was that, mate? Like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit strange during lockdown, the changeover, but yeah, all things considered, it worked out great, I think, in terms of us as a family and life, and just all the things behind the scenes that, you know, that everyone has in their lives that no one knows about, you know. We've just come to realise, I think, God's timing and His presence with us, you know, from moving to Matamata to start with, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just, helped build our foundation, I guess, and trust in Him that He's got the best path for us, you know, if we trust Him, you know. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's what we love about what God can do, you know, and that's what we're going through this series, talking about our foundations, where we've come from and what He can do to change, you know, where we're at, and sort of give us something to build on in the future, which is really, really cool. So as far as the job goes, Tim, your official title is Overseer of Operations, so good luck with that. Not the easiest people to organise sometimes, so, but I know you'll do a fantastic job of it. But I guess some of the things that you want to try and do and achieve and help the church to move forward. What are your thoughts on those sort of things?
Yeah, I guess ever since we've come here, you know, as Sarah said, we've just felt loved the whole time, you know, and valued, and so, you know, it was quite easy, I think, moving into this job, knowing that everyone's got the same thoughts on that, you know. And with our mission statement, I kind of feel like I can go into this job with that mission statement on the top of my mind. Yep. You know, building a community that finds freedom, hope and unconditional love through Jesus. And, you know, I think if I just keep that at the top of my mind as I'm doing, you know, my job, I think it's going to be, it's going to work out, you know.
Yeah.
Even if,
Same.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I think that's what, you know, I love about these two, is that everything they do is to help people and to grow people and to change people, and you know, we've seen that, and the youth love you, and you know, kids love you, and it's really, really cool. So we're excited to see where God takes it, and you know, the church is growing and changing, and you know, the world's in a weird place right now, and as you said, Tim, the timing just couldn't have been more perfect, you know, to be able to do what you've done with youth and everything at the time when you started, you know, full time. And it's just amazing. So super thankful to God for bringing you guys along, and also just for the timing of you know, what He's doing now, and I'm just so keen to see what He's got for the future. So I guess this is the official welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It would be nice to be doing it with a whole lot of people around us, but they're all watching. I know everybody here has got your back as well. So good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Hey everyone, welcome to Soul Online. Hope you've had a good week in level 2 and you managed to get out the weekend, maybe see your favourite place or your favourite people, and just a little bit of normality has been pretty nice. So hope it's been good for you. And I think one of my favourite things with this whole lockdown thing is seeing some of the creativity that's come out of it. Right. And again, saw the Borkin family there with their hidden talents, and giving us a story of David and Goliath. So that was pretty cool. So big thank you to them. That was really awesome.
Yeah, it was so cool. Hey, really great to hear from Tim and Sarah and their heart for soul tonight too. So thanks for sharing that, guys. Great stuff.
Yeah, they're an amazing couple, and you know, we got a treat for you tonight. We haven't seen our worship team for about 9 weeks now, so yeah, they're back, and I was lucky enough to be able to go down when they recorded the other night, and man, I've just been listening to it all day at work. So it's been cool. So we're about to do some worship with them, and then we're going to hear from Utah. He's got a message, for our foundation series, talking about freedom tonight. And so we're really looking forward to that. So kick back and enjoy.
See you on the other side.
Hey Soul, welcome back. It's been a long time since we worshipped together, so you need to get up off your seat and dance in the kitchen or in the lounge. I don't care where, we can't see you. And we're going to sing an old song, but a goodie, okay? I want to live a life, I want to live a life. I want to live a life, I want to live a life. Don't want to live a lie, don't want to live a lie. I want to live a life, and you make me alive.
Hey guys, welcome to Soul Online. My name is Utah and I'm one of the associate pastors here at Soul Church Matamata. You've caught us in our foundation series, and last week we opened up a conversation about what are the foundations of who we are as a church. And that is our mission statement, which is building a community that finds freedom, hope, and unconditional love through Jesus. Now what that means is that everything that we do here, with our time and our resources and our effort, we have to filter through this mission statement. If what we're doing isn't bringing people into a place of freedom, giving them that hope, or that unconditional love that we find through Jesus, then we need to either rethink what we're doing or how we're doing it. So we're going to take these next 3 weeks at focusing on 3 elements: the freedom, the hope, and the unconditional love. And each of these has a very unique aspect to it, when it comes to their place in time. Freedom is something that focuses on the past. You can't be free of something that you don't already have or hasn't already happened. And what happens is we can take that with us wherever we go. And when we come to Jesus, there is a freedom in that, and we want to find out what that looks like and what that means for us. And that's what we're going to do this week. Hope is something that is uniquely in the present, but for the future. Hope is always anchored in the future. It's something that you are heading towards or heading away from. And we want to make sure that hope is something that we know we have today for tomorrow. And then we have unconditional love. Unconditional love is pretty self-explanatory. There are no conditions to this. That means when we have people that come to Soul, and if you want to be a part of Soul, that's awesome, and we love you for that. And we will love you no matter what condition you come in. And so whether you are in a stage where you're trying to find freedom from things that have happened before, or you're trying to get to a place where you have a hope for the future, we're called as a church to unconditionally love everyone that walks through the door. And all of this is useless if we don't have Jesus. And so everything that we do is poured out through the filter of Jesus and through the filter of the Bible. And so tonight I want to look at the aspect of freedom. And we're going to look at a story in Genesis 32, which follows a guy called Jacob. And we're starting in verse 22. It says, "That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, 'Let me go, for it is daybreak.' But Jacob replied, 'I will not go unless you bless me.' The man asked him, 'What is your name?' 'Jacob,' he answered. Then the man said, 'Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God, with humans, and have overcome.'" This story and this point in Jacob's life is such a massive shift in his story. He goes from being called Jacob to Israel, which sounds like it's just a simple name change, but when you look at that culture and that time, a name was everything. You could tell so much from a person by their name because they were believed to be prophetic. In this case, Jacob is a twin brother to a man called Esau. Now, when they were born, Esau came out first, and he had his leg out, and Jacob pulled him back in. And so they called Jacob, who technically came out first, one who grabs the heel, which in Hebrew culture is an idiom for one who deceives. And so from day dot, Jacob gets labelled with this title of one who deceives. And throughout his story, he tends to live up to that name. At one point, he goes to his father and he wants to receive a blessing from his father as he leaves. And in that culture, the firstborn son gets all the blessing and the secondborn son gets whatever's left over. And so instead of becoming the second son, he knows that his father's going blind and can't see very well or tell what's around him very well, and so he dresses up in a bearskin rug and tries to palm himself off as Esau, his older brother. And so when he goes to his father and his father says, "Who is this one?" he says, "My name is Esau." And so he gives him the blessing of the first son. And Esau is furious about this because that blessing is so important. And it would be pivotal to Esau's development as well. And so Esau is ropeable. But then when you see that Jacob wrestles with God here, the man asks him, "What is your name?" And the significance of that is the last time somebody asked, "What is your name?" it was his father asking, and he lied. he gets this chance to redeem himself, and he is asked, "What is your name?" And this time he's right with the right answer, and he says, "My name is Jacob." And the minute he owns up to the fact that he lied that time about that very important thing, it gives God the permission to come into his life and say, "Okay, you're repenting, I get it. That name was your old name." Now the name Jacob means he deceives, one who deceives, but the name Israel means you struggle with God, to wrestle with God and man and overcome. He's taking him from one person to another. And that's our first point. Who you were is nowhere near as important as who you are called to be. Everyone in this church has done things wrong. You've said things wrong, you've hurt people all around you. And those things definitely did happen. They will not get wiped away. But we have a God that redeems unredeemable things. And so when we come to him with our broken past and our broken lives, he doesn't say you're useless, you're the one who deceives, you've done all these things. He says these are the things you've done, and these are the things I'm calling you to. These things don't disqualify you from these things, because the ultimate qualifier is me. And so when you come to a place of freedom, you're actually coming, in this sense, to a person. One who frees you from the past and calls you to a future. And that's the kind of freedom that we want to find. The second point in there is that freedom from your past doesn't necessarily mean freedom from the day-to-day consequences. When Jacob stole the birthright from Esau, and he stole the blessing from Esau, he took something from Esau, and Esau wanted to take something back. He was mad, he was angry, and he did a lot of things and wanted to hunt Jacob down when he ran away and kill him. And even though in this moment he changes from Jacob to Israel, he couldn't very well go back to his brother and say, "Oh no, that was Jacob that did it. I'm Israel. So your beef is with him. We're cool though. That's cool." It doesn't work like that, because your actions affect people in the real world. And as much as we come to Jesus, those actions have still got those consequences attached to them. Now, you might not be feeling the consequences from the godly perspective, that God's saying that once you come to Jesus, your sins are paid for in Jesus. That is 100% true, but that doesn't mean that your day-to-day consequences go away. And you have to front up to those, and you have to deal with those. The last point I take away from this is that freedom from your past doesn't mean you get to drop it all together. If you really want to show people how powerful God is, the best way to show them is by the change in your own life. And you can't show people change if you ignore who you were before. God's testimony of how powerful He is in our lives comes from taking someone that's broken and deceitful and sinful and a bad guy and all that sort of stuff, and bringing him into a place where he is loving and holy and a blessing to those around him. Sometimes the biggest thing you can say is the difference in character. And so if we forget half of our story, then no one's going to know his story in our lives. As we move in through these next 3 weeks, start to think about what freedom through Jesus means for us. What are those things that have been holding you back, that you feel imprisoned and enslaved about? And understand that Jesus didn't want us to feel like that unnecessarily, that we are called to something better, and that there is always people around us that are there to bring that freedom through Jesus out in us. And so those 3 points were: who you were isn't as important as you're called to be. Freedom from your past doesn't mean freedom from the day-to-day consequences. And freedom from your past doesn't mean you get to drop it. It's part of who you were, and it's part of your story. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll all get to see each other. We're going to leave you with a bit more worship from the other night, and I hope you enjoy it, and have an awesome week. Thanks, guys.
I'll raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemy. I'll raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I'll raise a hallelujah I choose to bow. Though there's pain in the offering, I lay down. Here in the conflict, when doubt surrounds, though my soul is unraveling, I choose now. I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that can ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy, you are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my soul.
I build my altar right here and now. In the midst of the darkest night, it won't burn out. For you are perfect, no matter what. In the joy or the suffering, I sing it loud.
I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy, you are good when life is not. You will always and forever steal my soul.
The enemy says I'm done, I'll lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I'll lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I'll lift my praises. I choose to worship, I choose you now. When the enemy says I'm done, I'll lift my praises. When the world comes crashing down, I'll lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I'll lift my praises. I choose to worship, I choose you now. I choose to worship, I choose you now.
I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy, you are good when life is not. You will always and forever steal my soul.
When the enemy says I'm done, I'll lift my praises. When the world comes crashing down, I'll lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I'll lift my praises. I choose to worship, I choose you now. When the enemy says I'm done, I'll lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I'll lift my praises high. When the darkness turns to dawn, I'll lift my praises. I choose to worship, I choose you now. I choose to worship, I choose you now.
And that was so good to worship with our own crew and makes you feel like you're home, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was gold.
Hey, thank you so much, Yuta, for that message. It gave us tools and a fresh perspective moving into the next chapter. So that's awesome for each and every one of us and for the future.
Yeah. Speaking of the future, we got a lot to do, a lot to get going again, and we'd love your help on that. So we're going to send you out a survey. It's only going to take you a couple of minutes. It'll come on the text machine or your email, and we'd just love you to do that tonight if you can possibly.
Awesome.
It'd just be so helpful for us to plan what we're going to do and see what works and what doesn't for the next little while as we rebuild and get things cranking again. So if you could do that for us, that would be gold.
Brilliant.
Yeah? I hate to say it, but this week's over. But it's more next week, more worship, more Soul Online, youth, so much happening. Kids Soul, the whole lot. There's heaps going on. So enjoy your week.
Have an awesome weekend. Look out for each other, and if you hear of needs, we really want to be part of that. And being Jesus' hands and feet, it's not a cliche. It's really what we'd love to be as a church. So let's all do that together and keep in touch.
Awesome. See you later.
See you guys.
Hey guys, Tim here. This is Sarah with the Soul Youth Pastors.
We would love for you to join us Thursday nights, 7 p.m. at the Soul website.
See you guys there.